Hi Paul, my name's Steve Taylor. I work for the psychiatry team here in the hospital. They ask us to come and have a conversation with anybody who comes into the hospital where, according to the paperwork, you've either hurt yourselves, maybe tried to kill yourself. I have to say it's generally never that black and white, but obviously you're sitting there, so something's gone wrong. Sometimes the medical team are a little bit naughty and they say that you can't go home unless you speak to people like me, and I have to say that's not strictly true. You don't have to have a conversation with me, but in my mind you've got nothing to lose by having a conversation. According to the paperwork, you took some tablets as an overdose. I suppose the starting point is, if you don't mind, just I'll give you a little bit of a spiel, I suppose. Everybody thinks about suicide, about killing themselves. That's about being human. How it normally works is something goes wrong in our life, or one thing after another, and up here pops, I wish I was dead, I don't want to be here. And up here pops all the reasons not to kill ourselves. What would normally stop you from killing yourself?
Thinking about other things, I suppose.
Okay. What kind of things keep you going?
Well, normally it would be thought about my mum, my dad, and my brother.
Okay, so mum, dad, brother. So thoughts about suicide pop into our head, and wish I was dead, and then the good stuff pops up, and this wins. So we don't kill ourselves, we do something else. The something else might involve crying or getting drunk or punching somebody, but we don't kill ourselves. Other times it kind of pops up, and then we start to do that. Should I, shouldn't I? Think about this a bit more, about ways to do it. This still wins, we do something else. Other times people do all of that, and then they think about it, and they plan it, and they change their will, they drive off into the middle of the woods, and then it's in the lap of the gods. But everybody has those thoughts at split seconds in their life. And it can all happen in a split second, particularly on the back of upset or alcohol. Sitting there have been surgeons from this hospital, practicing psychiatrists, people living on the streets. It's anybody and everybody. I guess the question I'd like to ask is, have those kind of thoughts been around recently?
Yeah, about
I mean, are we talking days or weeks or months?
weeks.
Weeks. How many weeks would we have to go back?
About 6, 7.
Okay, so often when people experience those kind of thoughts, they think they can pop in, but they can pop out again. You know, the problem with suicidal thoughts is that they don't stay in one place, and if they've popped into your head and you're stood on top of the Tyne Bridge and you're full of beer, it's the wrong gust of wind. So those thoughts have been popping in for about 6 weeks. Today's Thursday, yesterday was Wednesday. You came in according to the paperwork about 8 o'clock last night. Can you remember what time you woke up yesterday?
Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
It was later on, it was about 11 o'clock-ish.
Okay. Is that about normal?
No, I've been sleeping loads.
Okay. I mean, if I'd have come round to your house yesterday morning about 11 o'clock and knocked on your door and said, "You're going to take an overdose tonight," what would you have said?
Might do.
So it wasn't a definite decision. So the thoughts had been in your head, but it wasn't kind of you woke up thinking today's the day. You wouldn't have been surprised if I'd asked that question.
Yeah.
Well, run me through the day, and if you don't mind, I'm going to be a pain in the neck and interrupt you a lot. But all I'm trying to do is play a video in my head, really, about the events of the day. So you woke up 9 o'clock. 11 o'clock, sorry. In your mood, in your spirits, how were you feeling?
rubbish.
K-
Just feel as though there's that empty feeling.
Okay. If I'd again, I mean, this is, if you bear with the stupid numbers, but imagine a 0 to 10 in terms of your mood and your spirits, and 0 is as bad as you can ever imagine it to be, and 10 is you at your best. I don't mean win the lottery or anything, just you at your best. Where would you have put yourself on that 0 to 10 scale yesterday?
About 2.
Okay, so quite a way away from your best. So you woke up feeling terrible. Then what happened?
I just kept feeling terrible.
What were you doing?
I was just around the house, and I was just on my own, and no feeling of getting better came across me. I don't know if I got worse and worse, but it just kept feeling terrible.
If I'd have been a fly on the wall in the flat, like one of these fly on the wall documentary things, what would I have been watching? What would I have been looking at?
It's like I was lost. I was lost in my own home.
I would have known you were sad and feeling terrible. Okay. Again, I mean, it's a nosy question. You can tell me to mind my own business. But I mean, were you tearful? Were there tears? So very sad, very upset. What was the main thing?
Just tearful, not like sobbing.
Okay.
Just tearful.
What was the main thing on your mind at that point?
That it just I couldn't get past feeling any better. It wasn't going to get any better. I was really down and I just couldn't see any way of getting up.
Okay. What kind of time would we be talking about now?
6, 7 o'clock.
This is evening time. Can I just rewind you a little bit? I mean, lunchtime, to mid-afternoon. What were you doing?
Just in the house.
Just doing nothing.
I didn't even have the telly on. Nothing.
Okay, just pacing around.
It's like I was lost.
Did you eat? Okay. So 6, 7 o'clock. Feeling terrible. Then what happened?
My brother came back from work, and I just kept myself to myself and stayed in my room.
Did you? I mean, obviously I haven't spoken to your brother, but it may be something that I might like to do if he'd allow it. Did he know there was something up?
He knows that I'm not right. He knows that something's wrong. And he's tried to talk, but just kept out of his way.
Are you and your brother close? I mean, obviously you live together, so I'm making an assumption that you get on. Older, younger brother?
Slightly older.
Older brother. So you, and normally quite a close relationship. In terms of talking about emotional things, I mean, is that something that comes easy, or are you the kind of person who likes to put a lid on things, or?
Put the lid on it.
Okay, so
I do talk to people, but I don't go in depth.
So tend to put a lid on things, keep it to yourself, and just try and get through best you can. So brother comes in, and you kind of take yourself off and you take yourself to your room. Then what happens?
Waited till he went to bed, till he went to sleep. And by that time, I decided.
So if I rewound you to that point where your brother comes in, you go into your room. If I'd have tapped you on the shoulder at that point and said, "You're going to take that overdose soon," what would you have said at that point?
Yeah.
So that thought was in your head at that point. Can you remember when that thought popped into your head? It wasn't triggered by anything specific, no crosswords or anything. It was just a thought that popped in. Okay. So then what happened?
Took some tablets.
I mean, people will often say to me, and then I took the tablets. But we're talking, I mean, according to what's on paper here, we're talking, 30, 40 or more tablets. It takes a little bit of time to take tablets like that. Normally they come in strips, and you've got to pop them out. And I mean, where were the tablets?
You're in my room.
In your room? Whereabouts in your room?
Just down by the side of my bed.
Okay, and what were tablets doing down by the side of your bed?
I went and bought them.
Can I ask when?
In the last 10 days.
And what was it that you'd actually bought?
Codeine. And paracetamol.
And can I ask how many you'd bought?
I bought a lot. And I took 60.
Was it from more than one shop? So you'd actually at that point.
You can't buy them all from one shop.
So you'd gone from shop to buy them. Okay. And how many days ago was that?
All within the last 10 days.
So not all in one go. It was kind of over
No,
the.
it was just as like it was a slow.
Okay.
Like something picking up pace.
It almost sounds as though that you hadn't quite come to a decision, but you were buying them in just in case that thought. In case it all got too much, I guess. Okay, so the tablets were down by the side of your bed. Sometimes when people have got, again, those thoughts in their head, they're considering other ways of killing themselves. Most people, at that split second, because we're human and we don't like pain and it's frightening, it's usually, I'll take these tablets, I'll go to sleep, I'll not wake up. That's what most people think. Had you considered other ways that you might end your life?
Yeah, stop breathing.
Could you tell me a little bit about what you'd thought about?
I thought if I took the tablets and then stopped myself breathing, it would be quicker.
So you'd take the tablets and you'd die fairly quickly?
No,
Okay.
I had to do two things. Take the tablets and do something else.
And what would be the something else?
Put a carrier bag over my head, suffocate myself.
I mean, you were obviously at a terrible point in terms of your state of mind at that point. Is that something that you just thought about, or had you actually ever tried anything like that before? Never tried it, but just you'd thought about that. Had you thought about any other ways? Tears are fine, Paul. Okay. I mean, you've obviously been feeling terrible. I'm just going to ignore the tears if that's okay and talk through them. Is that all right? Yeah. So you'd obviously considered taking the tablets and possibly putting the carrier bag over your head. Had you thought about any other ways that you could end your life? No, I mean that's scary enough, I have to say. So getting back to that split second, the tablets are down by the side of your bed. Then what happened? You popped them out.
Popped them all out first. All at once.
Again, if I'd been that fly on the wall, just watching, what would I have been looking at? I mean, were you calm? Were you upset?
No. It's like I was sort of detached. Like sort of automatic. Just doing what I need to do, but possibly not thinking about what I was doing.
I mean, did you take them one at a time, or handfuls, or handfuls at a time, with water, with alcohol?
It's alcohol.
Again, nosy question. I mean, had you had a drink before, or was it just whilst you were taking the tablets?
I had a couple of drinks through the day.
Can I be really nosy? Put your hand on your heart, look me in the eye, tell me how much you're drinking at the moment.
About 3 or 4 bottles of wine a week.
Okay. So it's not every day?
No.
Not every day.
No.
So what had you actually had to drink during the day?
Wine.
Just a couple of drinks.
Yeah, I hadn't drank much that day.
It was just a couple of glasses. So you weren't drunk.
No.
Okay. Again, sometimes when people are at that point of thinking of not being here anymore, they'll maybe write a goodbye note, or did you write a note
To my brother.
to your brother? I mean, I don't know if you can remember what you put in it. Can you remember? Can't remember, but okay. Sometimes people will also do other things. They maybe, maybe send a text message or things like that. And did you do anything like that?
Went to see a friend
When did you go and see the friend?
the day before, Tuesday.
Again, nosy question. Male friend, female friend?
Female friend.
Female friend. A girlfriend or just a
close
good
friend, yeah.
close friend? And you went to see her just as a pre-arranged meeting, or what was behind going to see your friend?
I don't know. I didn't think I was going to see her again, so
So those thoughts about not being here, they were
Suppose
obviously
so.
quite fixed in your head the day before. So that was, I mean, again, I mean, this may be just me jumping to conclusions, but was that a saying goodbye to your friend, do you think?
I think it might have been.
Okay. I mean, again, I'm not going to, but if I spoke to your friend and said, how was he yesterday, what would she say?
A bit quiet.
A bit quiet, but she wouldn't have known how desperate you were feeling at that point. So you're quite good at putting a face on it then, yeah. Okay. Okay, so you'd said goodbye to your friend, and you've written this note to your brother. What are you thinking about when you're taking these tablets?
I don't know. Maybe I don't have to worry anymore. And I don't know if worry's the right word, but I just don't have to be like this anymore.
Was it to kill yourself? So it was about being dead. It wasn't, because sometimes, again, sometimes it isn't. It gets back to it not being black and white. Sometimes people will have those thoughts in their head, and they'll take, like you did, a lot of tablets. But it's not always about being dead. Sometimes it's about it'll just all go away. But this was about you're quite clear. This was about being dead.
It might have been all go away,
Okay.
but I think I was dead.
Okay. Then what happened?
It didn't work then.
But what happened next? I mean, because
Brother found me
did he?
next day.
But at the time, you went to bed with the expectation of
Not waking up.
that you might not wake up. You'd obviously had that very scary thought of putting a bag over your head as well. I mean, did you actually do that? So you took the tablets, wrote the goodbye note, and put the bag over your head,
Wrote the note, took the tablets,
and put the bag,
bag over my head.
and went to bed. Can you remember waking up?
No. I know I did, but I don't know what happened after that.
So your brother came into the room,
I don't know what time.
and I mean, all hell would have presumably broken loose at that point. I mean, it was, to find your brother, and then ambulances and hospitals and all of that kind of thing. Gosh. Do you mind me asking, has anything like this ever happened before?
No. Never.
Never hurt yourself before? Sometimes when people are, when people are younger, they'll hurt themselves in other ways. Not necessarily about trying to kill themselves, but sometimes people will cut themselves or burn themselves, or nothing like that's ever happened before. Okay. And this is a bit of an odd question, but if you don't mind, I'll ask it anyway. As far as you know, has anybody in the family ever killed themselves?
Somebody has. An uncle, I think.
Was it an
Years ago.
Was it an uncle that you were close to?
In particular, sort of marriage to my auntie, I think.
And I mean, how old were you when your uncle killed himself?
Can't remember.
Okay. You're not sure when it was?
I don't know, I was younger.
When
Much
you-
younger.
Do you know how he killed himself? So not sure. Okay.
Never asked.
Okay. If you don't mind, I mean, what I'd like to do is just ask you some general questions. You've already mentioned in terms of your, you know, that morning. If I'd asked you about your mood and your spirits, you would have said you were 2 out of 10 on that 0 to 10 scale. So 80% away from your best. And how long had you been feeling like that for? How long would I have to go back before you were maybe a 6 or a 7 on that scale?
About a month.
So if I'd have met you, say, 6 weeks ago and said, how you doing, how you feeling in your mood, you would have been
Down.
but not to that extent, not to the extent you were.
I've been really down for the last 6 weeks.
Okay.
But it's got worse in the last week.
Well, that was. I guess the next question is: has it been staying about the same or getting worse? So it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a pattern to it? Have you noticed in terms of the time of day? Does your mood change with the day?
It's worse in the mornings.
What's waking up in the morning like?
Awful. It's like you wake up and then you start to feel and you realise nothing's really changed from the day before. So that makes you feel worse. And as you go through the day, pick up a bit.
And then does it start
Then you
to
go to sleep. And you sleep quite a lot, and then the next day you think it's still not gone away. So it's always worse in the mornings.
Okay. And that's been like that for a while now.
Mm.
Okay.
But,
So I mean, you've said you're sleeping a lot. I mean, in terms of your sleep, what is getting off to sleep okay?
alright, but it's not good sleep,
Okay.
if you know what I mean.
I mean, are you waking during the night?
Restless, but don't think I'm totally awake.
So you can drop back off again, and then you're actually sleeping. You're not waking up early in the morning. You're
No, I
actually
sleep
sleeping.
through the morning.
So sleeping for England.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then when you're waking up, I mean, you said 11:30. I mean, do you feel as though you've had a good night's sleep?
Because as soon as you wake up you feel down because you still feel bad again, and a good night's sleep makes you feel better, doesn't it?
Mm.
And it can't be a good night's sleep if you wake up feeling awful.
So you're not feeling refreshed at all.
No.
Energy levels, have they changed?
It's right down. Everything's down. Everything's sort of just disappeared, melted away. No fun. Food's not nice. Everything's bland.
So I mean, I'm assuming from what you've said there, then appetite is not what it was. I mean, just out of curiosity, I mean, if I'd met you 6 months ago and asked you about your appetite, what would you have said?
Fine.
Enjoyed food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the state of play at the moment?
No enjoyment. It's just
Eating because you know you got to eat,
yeah.
but it's not tasting the same.
There's no happiness from it.
Okay. Losing weight?
I've lost a bit. Yeah.
How much do you think you've lost?
I wouldn't know, but I know I've lost it because the clothes are a bit just slightly looser.
Okay, I mean that's often a good sign that if the next notch down in the belt kind of thing, Yeah. Okay. Concentration. I mean, do you read? Do read books, watch telly?
Used to. Can't concentrate because your brain's not spinning, but just sort of trapped in this groove of nothing.
Okay. What normally puts a smile on your face?
Family.
What else?
I actually can't remember because it's been that long.
Okay, try and have a think. What do you normally enjoy when you're more at your best?
Yeah, it's going out with my brother and seeing my friends, being social.
So at your best, you're quite a social kind of
Friends, yeah.
chap and going out. When was the last time you were out with friends and had a good time?
Months ago.
If I'd again, I'm not going to, but you know, if I'd kind of called your friends up, your pals up, and said, when was the last time you saw him? What would they say?
Months ago.
See-
7, 8, 10 weeks ago. A few months ago.
Okay.
Apart from a friend on Tuesday. Don't see them anymore.
Again, nosy question. Tell me to mind my own business. Sex drive. I'm not interested whether you're having sex, but I'm interested in whether the thoughts are still there and whether everything works.
No, everything stopped working.
In terms of
In terms of everything. So
being able
that
to get an
includes
erection and so
just not even thinking about it.
okay. And is that a new thing? Is that a recent thing?
Just when you have an empty feeling, you don't have feelings for anything, do you? So you're not even thinking about it.
Okay, well,
It's
I'm
all part of this mixed up thing, isn't it?
that's right. I mean, when we're feeling down, I mean, we're not interested in things like that. Okay. I didn't ask, but I mean, do you mind me asking? Is there a relationship, a partner?
Not a close friend, yeah.
Okay. Someone you see regularly?
Not really that much anymore, but used to.
Okay.
Nothing serious.
Sometimes when people are feeling, you know, desperately down as you've been feeling, they can experience very frightening thoughts or have very frightening experiences. Sometimes people can hear people talking when there's nobody else there. Has anything like that been happening? Okay.
No.
And when we sit on our own and we're thinking about things, we know that the thoughts we have are our thoughts that belong to us. Sometimes people can feel as though they've had thoughts that don't belong to them or that have been put in their head. Has anything like that been happening?
I'm not really having thoughts. This is the whole problem. There just seems to be nothing going on.
Just blank.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess you know, just finishing that little train of thought. Sometimes again, people can have very scary experiences where they can see things that other people can't see. Nothing like that.
No.
Okay. Again, this is about being human, and this is not about being mad or mentally ill, whatever that means. When things are going badly, most of us will either drink too much or take drugs to make things better or to make things go away. You've already mentioned the alcohol, 3 or 4 bottles of wine a week. At your best, what would you be drinking?
Probably about the same.
Okay, so it hasn't got any worse, it hasn't got any, it's not any different. Okay. And what about drugs?
Yeah.
Can I be nosy? I mean, this doesn't go anywhere.
Do you want to know?
What have you been using?
smoke weed, skunk, every day.
I mean, obviously, skunk is a bit different to other. When I was younger, people used to talk about I smoke a bit of tack, a bit of cannabis resin, but it's different now. People are smoking much more skunk, which is much more potent. How much skunk have you been smoking?
Quite a bit.
I mean, you're saying every day. I mean, how much would you get through in a day?
Don't know. It's hard to say. Not constant, but enough to keep me going throughout the day.
Does it make things better?
Hasn't been, no.
Okay. Using anything else?
Took LSD in the past. Cocaine.
What about recently? Last few weeks, few months?
Same.
So when was the last time you used cocaine?
A few weeks ago.
It's not a regular.
No.
No.
No, just
Okay.
I've used it. Yeah.
Again, I mean, sometimes, excuse me, sometimes when people are using things, like cocaine and skunk, they can have, frightening experiences. Sometimes they can feel unsafe or feel a bit paranoid. I mean, anything like that happening? Okay.
Mm.
If I said describe what's on the inside at the moment, what would you say?
On the inside of what?
On the inside, just how does it feel on the inside? Because you said when you went to see your friend yesterday, you were able to put this face on, but that's obviously not what's on the inside. You know what I mean? What's on the inside?
I've had enough. I'm just knackered. It's like there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
So in terms of suicidal thoughts, where are they at the moment?
They're in there. Don't know where, but they're in there.
Is it here? I mean, is it the back of your mind, or is it here? Is it the main thing on your mind?
Don't know, I suppose it changes in different times, so it swirls around, and sometimes it's in different places, but it's always there.
Okay, so those thoughts are still coming fairly thick and fast, but how easy is it when it's sitting here right at the front of your thinking? How easy is it to resist those thoughts and push them back?
I suppose I'd have to say fairly easy, because I'm not trying to kill myself all the time, but sometimes it's just that one occasion. It's right there.
And how do you manage? What kind of things do you do to try and resist those thoughts? How do you keep yourself going?
I don't know if it's anything I do, or if it's something that you just do naturally. You just think they're the wrong thoughts to have, and you stop having them. But sometimes you can't control your thoughts, can you? So
you've mentioned your brother. You've mentioned, what's he called? What's your brother called?
Steve.
Steve. And obviously, Steve came in and found you. And you've mentioned that you've got a good relationship, that you're close, but that you're not brilliant about talking about things emotionally. But that's all right. Last night, you took these tablets. Those thoughts you couldn't push them back.
No.
They were sitting right there. You did a little bit of alcohol on board, but you weren't drunk. You went to bed. You didn't expect to wake up. And I know you weren't thinking about this at the time. I know you'd written a goodbye note, and I know you weren't thinking about this, but if your plan had worked, if you actually hadn't have woken up, because it wasn't for want of trying, I have to say, you know, obviously you wouldn't be here. The problem with suicide, you know, you don't need me to tell you how crap life can be sometimes. You know, sometimes things can happen that aren't fair, things that shouldn't happen, or we can see or experience terrible things. We can find a place for pretty much anything in our head. Sometimes it's about therapy, counselling, if particularly if we've had terrible things happen as children. Suicide's different. If you hadn't woken up, Steve would have walked in. Then what would have happened? This isn't about, you know, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, or, you know, this is just about reality, because those thoughts are still in your head because you're human, because you're struggling. And one of the options that we all have is to kill ourselves. But the problem with not being here anymore is life goes on. The sun comes up for somebody else, and it would be nice